Alright guys, I'm back online. I hope I'm audible this time as well. Please let me know through chat whether I am audible. Alright, seems like we are back online. Guys, I hope you can see the first page of the RC. Do let me know if you are not able to do that, because on the screen that I see on the laptop, I see that uh, the first page of the RC passage seems to be visible and we seem to be online right now. Milan, I hope the issue is resolved now and you're able to see what I am able to see on the screen. I am able to see the first page of the RC passage. Please confirm through chat. Alright, great. So Sunny has responded that we are in fact able to all see the same thing. That is the first page. So I'll give you 30 seconds and I'll move on to the second page. You can always scroll back and look at the first page if you're not able to go through the entire part by then. Right, moving on to page 2. You can always go back 5 seconds and relook at page 1 if you're not able to go through the entire passage by now. Hi Adi, we've already mentioned in the beginning of the session, maybe 10-15 minutes ago, you were probably not around then. Today is a workshop session. That basically means that there will be a mix of questions similar to a verbal ability section that you will find in any of the competitive exams. So you'll have RC passages, you'll have vocabulary questions, you'll have grammar questions, so on and so forth. You'll have a mix of all the kinds of questions today. So it's more of a workshop session today. Alright, now so before we move on to the questions, let me just quickly run through the passage along with you guys, and then we'll have a look at the questions. So I'm moving back to page 1 now. The development underlines the great danger that we face from the extension of anti-terrorist measures and methods into normal life. Underlining something. Underlining is bringing out the importance of something. So this development is bringing out the danger that we face from the extension of anti-terrorist measures and methods into normal life. The policing of our streets, for example, and the hounding of football fans and climate change protesters. Just as disturbing is the line of questioning by the police of those who made freedom of information requests before the alleged hacking of computers last year. In a letter to Financial Times, Sebastian Noakes, a climate change skeptic, who is a skeptic, someone who is a non-believer, someone who is doubtful about things, right? He's not sure, so he doesn't really believe that climate change is real. He's a skeptic, he's not a believer, right? He has a question mark, right? So a skeptic is a person who is not really sure, is not fully convinced about something. And a businessman said he was interviewed by an officer who wanted to know what computer I used, my internet service provider, and also to which political parties I have belonged, what I feel about climate change, and what my qualifications in climate science are. He questioned me at length about my political and scientific opinions. The police have a duty to investigate the alleged. So you know that right from here where the quotes begin till here is what that person Noakes said. And now we're going back to what the author. What is the author saying? The police have a duty to investigate the alleged crime. But this kind of questioning smacks of something far more sinister. Smacking of something is, it seems like it's a lot more sinister. What is sinister? Some kind of evil plan, because a person's political and scientific views are being weighed to assess his likely criminality in the eyes of the police officer. Now you might ask how else the police are going to establish who is a suspect. After all, you would certainly ask people about their lives if you're investigating a string of racist attacks. But this is not a violent crime or a terrorist matter. Moreover, Noakes had simply sent an FOI request. What is FOI? Freedom of Information that we saw earlier. To the university's climate unit, asking whether scientists had received training in the disclosure rules and asking for copies of any emails in which they suggested ducking their obligations to disclose data. Right? So whatever Noakes had asked was so not very dangerous, or it was not really going to cause any kind of violence. It was definitely not a terrorist activity. On that basis, the police felt entitled to examine Noakes on his views. These days, it is surprising that they haven't found a way to seize his computer and mobile phone, which is what routinely happens to those involved in climate change protests. Limits need to be set in the policing and investigation of people's legitimate beliefs. What is legitimate? Something that is lawfully, perfectly fine. Any future government must take a grip on the tendency of the police. Must take a grip on something is they must control the tendency of the police to watch, search, categorize and retain the personal details of those who express the political, religious, scientific beliefs. We should never forget that under this government, the police have used forward intelligence teams to photograph people emerging from a climate change meeting in a cafe somewhere, have used some system to track the movement of vehicles belonging to people traveling to demonstrations, have prevented press photographers from carrying their lawful right to cover news events, and have combed the computers and searched the premises of an MP legitimately engaged in the business of opposition and holding the government to account. That is, he has to, that's his job, right? An opposition party MP, member of parliament, has to be in opposition and he has to hold the government responsible for whatever they promise to do. What this adds up to is a failure of understanding in the police force that one of its primary duties is to protect the various and sometimes inconvenient manifestations of a democracy. What is a manifestation? It is the way in which something is presented, right? So he says democracy doesn't always come in a good manner or in a very convenient manner. Sometimes it can be inconvenient as well, but as a police officer, it is your duty to protect and sometimes you have to not suppress them at all, right? So you have to have a democracy. That means that you cannot suppress any form of democracy, even if sometimes it means that it is inconvenient manifestation. That is why they have to be ultra careful, deploying specialist terrorist intelligence units and treating opinions as evidence, right? So by going through this passage, you sort of understand where the author is coming from, right? So he's saying that the police task force is getting too much into where they shouldn't probably be. They're supposed to track down criminals, terrorists, etc. Instead, what they're now doing is they're policing those people who are perfectly fine. I mean, they have some protests, they have some demonstrations, they have some questions to ask the government, but that is all within the legal framework. It is perfectly fine as citizens of the country to be able to oppose that. That is what democracy is, right? So the police is not supposed to hurt that democracy, is where the author is coming from, right? So now let's jump into the questions. Question 1. I'll let you have a stab at this. You can start going through the question and try to give me the answer, the correct one according to you, and then we will discuss. Alright, so guys, I hope you went through the question. What do you think? Which one of these best expresses the author's attitude towards Sebastian Noakes? Option A. The author considers his situation as a symptom of a bigger malaise. Malaise is a disease or a problem. B. The author supports him and protests against being meted out to him. Meted out is to give something, treatment given to that person, Noakes. C. The author questions the legality of actions carried out by police against Noakes. The author worries about moral implications of involvement of police in such cases. So, what do you think is the author trying to do here? Adi, I guess we are back online. So yeah, there seems to be some kind of an issue here with regards to the internet connection. It seems to be going on and off for some reason. Stay with me. I guess we can all see this particular question that I am currently on. Let's try and answer this question. Which one of these best expresses the author's attitude towards Noakes? Come on guys, I'm looking for some answers here.